Here is a regeneration of the text, rewritten with the cadence and emotional resonance of a dramatic novel, The Architect of the Scattered Mind. You look around the room, and what you see is a mausoleum of abandoned enthusiasms. There, in the corner, sits the acoustic guitar, gathering dust like a silent accusation. On your screen, the cursor blinks against a half-coded website, frozen in digital limbo. In the kitchen, a set of professional baking tools lies pristine and untouched. And yet, amidst this debris of unfinished business, you feel a new, electric pull, a sudden, desperate urge to learn jujitsu. In that moment, a very specific, heavy shame settles in your chest. The world has a name for people like you, dilettanti. It is a word that tastes like failure. They whisper that you are chaotic, that you lack the grit to dig deep, that you are flighty. You feel like a fraud, an imposter drifting through a world where everyone else seems capable of picking a single lane and staying in it. You repeat the old proverb to yourself like a curse, using it as a weapon to bruise your own ego. A jack of all trades is a master of none. But in your self-condemnation, you have forgotten the history of those words. You have forgotten the redemption in the second half of the sentence. The full quote, lost to time, reads, "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one." Psychology whispers a different truth than the one you tell yourself. This feeling of being scattered, of being pulled in a dozen directions at once, is not a defect. It is a symptom of a highly adaptive, voracious nervous system. You are not failing to specialize. You are unconsciously constructing a rare and complex cognitive architecture known as the M-shaped mind. While the world demands that you narrow your focus, your brain is quietly rebelling. It is preparing you for a volatile future where hyperspecialization is not a strength, but a liability. You are not broken. You are evolving. Before we descend into the architecture of your survival, I ask for a brief moment of connection. Tell me, from which corner of this vast earth are you watching? And if these dives into the deep waters of the psyche stir something within you, there is a sanctuary for us, a newsletter community linked below, waiting for your arrival. To truly understand the anxiety humming beneath your skin, we must first unearth the lie you were sold. For the last century, the world played a game of the vertical. It was the era of the I-shaped man. Society crowned those who dug a single hole a mile deep, rewarding a singular, unwavering focus. It was a kind learning environment, predictable as a game of golf on a Sunday morning. The physics were constant. The rules never wavered. If you dedicated 10,000 hours to perfecting your swing, victory was not just possible, it was promised. But you do not live in that gentle world anymore. Your brain, ancient and intuitive, knows what your conscious mind fights to deny. The modern landscape is a wicked environment. Here, the rules do not merely bend, they rewrite themselves every single day. In this tempest, the specialist, once the king, is now the most fragile piece on the board. If their industry shifts, they do not bend, they break. They become obsolete. Because your instinct senses this fragility, you drift. It is not distraction. It is defense. One year, you are consumed by the intricate circuitry of electrical wiring and the hum of HVAC systems. The next, you are immersed in the fluid discipline of yoga, the crushing resistance of heavy iron, or the thrumming, electronic pulse of rave music. To the outsider looking in, this appears to be a personality in disarray, pure, unadulterated chaos. But they are looking at the surface. While you are building for survival, they may cast you as the eccentric, the drifter, the strange soul who cannot sit still. But what they mistake for distraction is actually a quiet alchemy. You are harvesting data points from worlds that should never meet, gathering fragments from disparate domains to build something entirely new. This is where the true magic lies. In the clinical language of psychology, this is called far transfer. The specialist relies on near transfer. They solve problems they have seen 1,000 times before, using the same rusted tools they have always carried. They walk a linear path. But you? You operate in the leaps and bounds of far transfer. You take a concept from one completely alien field and grafted onto another. Consider the web developer who spent a former life as a beekeeper and a farmer. On the cold, flat surface of a resume, these lives appear disjointed. Coding has no business with agriculture. But that experience in the soil allows them to understand organic systems, growth cycles, and decay in a way that a specialist coder who has only ever stared at pixels could never grasp. They are not merely writing code. They are cultivating a digital ecosystem. That is far transfer. That is the heartbeat of innovation. You feel the sting of the imposter because you measure yourself by their yardstick. You worry you are not the best at any one thing. But you're failing to see that your value is not found in your depth. It is found in your synthesis. Recognizing that your restless curiosity is not a flaw, but a superpower, brings a profound and heavy relief. But even with this knowledge, the immediate, crushing weight remains. The relief is fleeting, quickly replaced by the heavy smog of burnout and the sinking, visceral feeling that you are hopelessly behind. You watch your peers ascend. You see people your age claiming titles like senior vice president or lead engineer, their trajectory straight and piercing as arrows. Meanwhile, you feel as though you are perpetually stuck at the starting line, sweating and breathless, simply because you keep switching tracks. But this despair is born of a fundamental error. You are suffering because you are misunderstanding the geometry of your own potential. You are not T-shaped, that solitary vertical line of deep expertise capped by a thin bar of general knowledge. That is the shape of the specialist. You, my friend, are M-shaped. An M-shaped soul possesses multiple pillars of depth, towering peaks of expertise connected by a suspension bridge of insatiable curiosity. But here lies the dangerous trap. You cannot build all the pillars of the M at the same time. If you attempt to master data science, pen a novel, and launch a startup all in the same breathless month, the structure will not hold. You will collapse under the weight of your own ambition. The true polymaths, the ones who navigate this labyrinth successfully, practice what we call serial mastery. You must learn to view your life not as a singular race, but as a series of seasons. Perhaps you spent your 20s feverishly obsessing over the color and noise of music and art. Then, in your 30s, you pivoted to the logic of programming to pay the bills. You did not quit art. You did not fail. You simply finished that season of construction. I once encountered a man of 53 who finally made peace with this architecture. He realized he did not have to murder one passion to feed another. So, he let programming be the sturdy pillar that sheltered him, paying the bills and keeping the lights on. This allowed his other pillars, music, philosophy, and game design, to flourish in the sanctuary of his nights and weekends. He made a radical choice. He denied the allure of high-status team lead positions. He rejected the climb to keep his work week at 30 hours, trading prestige for the time to tend to the vast, complex garden of his mind. He became the guardian of his own psychic energy. He did not attempt to force his passions to collide in a violent, immediate merger. Instead, he allowed them to exist sequentially, trusting the timing of his own life. And eventually, in the fullness of time, they all converged into his own personal magnum opus, his video game projects. That is the M-shaped mind in full, glorious motion. But there is one final trait you possess, a psychological armor that makes you bulletproof. It is a secret written in the code of evolutionary biology. It is called redundancy. In the unforgiving logic of nature, redundancy is not waste. It is strength. Consider the elephant. It rarely falls to cancer because it possesses massive genetic redundancy, multiple copies of the same disease-fighting gene. If one line of defense falters, another rises to take its place. Your chaotic interests? They are your genetic redundancy. If you are merely a specialist software engineer, and the shadow of artificial intelligence falls over your industry, you are rightly terrified. You are fragile. But if you are a software engineer who also understands the flow of electrical wiring, the mechanics of HVAC motors, and the nuance of teaching English, you are unbreakable. You have not been wasting your time dabbling in the shallows. You have been engaging in strategic adaptability. You have been weaving a safety net of skills so dense and complex that no matter what catastrophe strikes the economy, technology, or the job market, you have a pivot ready. You are designed to survive. So, stop apologizing for that graveyard of hobbies in the corner of your room. Look at them with new eyes. Those were not failures. They were semesters in a university of your own making. You were never meant to be just one thing. You were built to be the bridge between worlds that others cannot even see. If you are ready to embrace this M-shaped future, leave a heart emoji in the comments as a signal that the pieces are finally coming together. And if you seek the map for how to structure these seasons of your life, subscribe and join our newsletter community via the link below. The deep work awaits.